Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campia, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campia Show, we save a little bit of time to take some live questions, but we don't always have time to get around to those live questions, at least not to all of them. So I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so we collect up those unused questions, and we address them here in companion videos. So, today is Wednesday, so this is all the leftover questions from this morning's show on Wednesday's show. So let's not waste any time and dive right into it. And our first question we're getting caught up on today comes to us from JCL Productions, who writes, filmmakers always say your first film is not going to be Shawshank to prepare people's expectations. Funny thing is, Darabont's first film was Shawshank Redemption. Was that his first film? Well, obviously he's been in the film business a long time, but even then, there's a saying, JCL, that says it's the exception that proves the rule. Like with every rule, there are exceptions, right? And that's where that thing is, the exception, like Darabont. Yeah, but the fact that you have to go all the way back 20 plus years to Shawshank Redemption to point out a film like that, it's a 1 in 1,000 thing, right? It's a 1 in 1,000 thing. And you never want to find yourself, and I know this isn't what you're doing, JCL, but I'm just saying in principle, you never want to be basing your argument on the exception. Like, you don't want to say, oh yeah, it's totally normal. First-time director can create a Shawshank Redemption. And then you go, oh, well, yes, they can because Darabont did it with this. Well, that's the exception. Is it can happen? Sure. But not saying, and by the way, can we just take a second and talk about the Shawshank Redemption? That movie's been in my personal, you guys hear me talk about it a lot, my personal top 10 favorite film of all time, probably in my top 5. It is just one of the greatest pieces of master-minded filmmaking ever. I just eat that movie up. I love it so much. And I still think it's one of the greatest Oscar travesties that another fantastic film, Forrest Gump, won Best Picture over Shawshank Redemption. Forrest Gump is fantastic. No knocking from me. But, come on. History shows Shawshank is better, right? It's all subjective, but to me, it's just the better film. Anyway. All right, let's move on here. Dude Man writes, I hope Avengers 3 wins for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars. Deserves it will be first Marvel film since Spider-Man 2 to win another favorite Marvel movie of mine. Yeah, it has been a while. Spider-Man 2 is it. Now, let me bring up, because I can't remember all off the top of my head. Visual Effects Oscar nominees. Let me just bring it up here. So, the nominees are Solo: A Star Wars Story, Christopher Robin, Avengers: Infinity War, First Man, and Ready Player One. Let me tell you what, this is anybody's ball game. This is anybody's ball game. The visual effects in Christopher Robin are so stunning, you don't believe for a second you're looking at stuffed animals actually alive and moving around. Like, you never for a moment in Christopher Robin think that this is a computer-generated effect. It so sells you on it, it's crazy. The lover hates Solo: Star Wars Story. The visual effects in Solo: Star Wars Story were fantastic. Ready Player One's visual effects were mind-blowing. First Man were so good, you don't even notice them. You don't even realize, oh, that entire scene we just watched was all green screen with tons of visual effects and blah, blah, going on, and you don't even realize it. That's how good the visual effects are. And then, of course, you got Avengers: Infinity War, which has some mind-blowing effects as well. I'm telling you what, it'll be very cool to see Infinity War win that, but I wouldn't put money on it at this point. I don't know who I'm picking as a favorite out of that list. That is an impressive list, and I'll tell you what, right now, when they announce the winner, I'm going to have no complaints. If they announce Christopher Robin, I'm not going to complain. If they announce Solo, I'm not going to complain. If they announce First Man, I ain't going to complain. If they announce Ready Player One, I ain't going to complain, because all of these were just fantastic, and they're all deserving. They're all deserving. All right, Brett Brooks writes, had it where I reserved a seat, and the guy refused to give it up. He said there are other places to sit. I think you wrote that in before, Brett. So where that is coming from is, we had a discussion the other day. One of the other viewers sent in a question saying, hey, I've just got this paranoia about, buying my seat, my reserved seat, and then getting there and somebody else is sitting there. And what I said was, I have never personally, what I have seen, I've never gone to the theater and had somebody sitting in my seat. I have seen that happen to other people. Like I'm sitting in a movie theater and I see some people have to pull out their tickets and double check tickets and talk to each other and work it out. I have never personally seen somebody realize, oh, they're in the wrong seat and then refuse to get out of the seat. I've never seen it. Now, I'm sure it's happened. I'm just saying I've never seen it happen. But even in a situation like that, Brett, the solution is very, very easy. You go, sir, D7, you're in my seat. There are other seats. Well, okay. I mean, I'd rather not go get the staff. And if they still refuse to move, it's a no question. It's a no-brainer. You just go to the staff, say, here's my ticket, D7, somebody else sit in my seat. And they'll take care of it. And don't forget, that guy in that theater, he's got a seat somewhere. Because if he's in there and he's got a ticket, he's got a seat somewhere too. So, I mean, like I said, I'm sure it's happened. I've just never seen it. Brett, you have had it happen to you. But I think it's so rare and such an easy fix that it's really a non-issue, really, when you think about it. All right. Santez Henderson writes, hey, John, are you done playing with your PS4? Nope. No, I am, as a matter of fact, I am not done playing with my PS4. I was just firing up Spider-Man again the other day. You know, I might even do a little play and chat tonight, if for no other reason to entertain you guys so you can laugh at how bad I am at the game. I am so dedicated to entertaining you that I will let you just watch and laugh at me at how bad I am at playing this Spider-Man game. Maybe you can just have a good time watching me. But nope, not done with it yet. Still got it here. Joe Byram writes, a line from the best hockey movie ever made, Toe Pick. Is that from Slap? No, that's from the one with the girl. The lead in that movie that you're talking about is the girl who did the voice of Nala in Lion King. And damn it, what's the name? I got to look it up now. But that's not a hockey movie, man. That's a figure skating movie. Let me just bring it up here. Not Blazer. Cutting Edge, 1992. And the reason I remember the Cutting Edge, and the reason I remember that movie, even though I froze on the title, 1992, Cutting Edge, I remember because they shot the opening scene in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is really funny because they shot the opening scene in our arena in Hamilton, in Cops Coliseum, but it was supposed to be in the United States. So they had to have everybody in the audience, because they were filming the audience, they had everybody in the audience in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, chanting, USA, USA. So if you go back and watch Cutting Edge and you see that scene at the beginning with everybody going, USA, that's actually in Canada. That's in Canada. But yes, the toe pick. It sounds like a hygiene tool. Well, then it doesn't apply to you. I remember that line. Okay. Brett Brooks writes, I fixed the intermission issue. Rent the DVD. Well, come on now, Brett. That is not fixing the intermission issue. Just telling people, well, then you can't be a part of coming to the movies. Nah, I still like the idea of an intermission. And I'll tell you what, Brett, I have yet to hear a valid explanation for why not. I haven't heard a valid explanation for why not have an intermission. Because, and look, I'm not for reintroducing the intermission in movies for any movie. Like an hour-and-a-half movie, no. For a 2-hour movie, no. But I think there's a lot of advantages for a movie that hits 2.5 hours or longer to have a planned intermission. And as of right now, I haven't heard any valid reason as to why not. You know, look, you give everybody a break. It gives everybody a chance to hit the bathroom without having to miss any of the movie. It's good for the movie theaters because it gives people a few minutes to go to the concession stand again and buy some more candy and soda and whatever. So it's good for the movie theaters. It causes less distraction because, you know, it's distracting in a movie when people are walking in and out in front of you because they're going to the bathroom. That's distracting, let alone if you have to go to the bathroom like you thought you went before the movie started, but it's been an hour and 45 minutes since this movie started and I got to go, you know? So now you're missing a couple of minutes of the film. The only thing I keep hearing people say is, it takes you out of the movie. Well, I've been hearing from people all over the world that's like, oh, you guys don't have intermissions in the United States? Well, we do in our country, and it doesn't bother us at all. And what I would also say is, look, when you're watching a movie at home, when you pause the movie to answer a call or go check on dinner, whatever, does that ruin the movie for you? No, it doesn't. So, yeah, look, I'm cool if they don't do an intermission, but I haven't heard a valid reason why not to do it yet. And I think it might be an interesting experiment. I just think it might be an interesting experiment. It reduces the amount of times people walking in front of you. It'll, like, if there are some people who just feel like they have to check their phones, guess what? Now people know if I just wait 15 more minutes, I can check my phone in 15 more minutes. So I don't know. I think it's a good solution. I do. But who knows? Maybe it's a bad one, whatever. They'll probably never do it, but I think it would be cool to try. All right. Jared Vester writes, "Hey, John. Had the chance to see How to Train Your Dragon 3. I loved it. It's actually my favorite of the trilogy. Ending got me. Fantastic trilogy. It was wonderful. I love." Now, I'm a little different from you, Jared, in the sense that I think I preferred parts 1 and parts 2 more than part 3, but it's just by that much. Like, part 3 is still a wonderful movie. And you're dead on. You're saying exactly something that I believe is that the last part of that movie, what I've been saying is, even though I think part 3, well, that part 1 and part 2 are better than part 3, I think the last 15 minutes of part 3 is the best 15 minutes in any of the franchise. In any of the How to Train Your Dragon films, that last 15 minutes gets you. It's such a perfect ending to the trilogy. They really knocked it out of the park. They, as they say, stuck the landing perfectly, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. All right, next up. Alan Gonzalez writes, Star Wars 9, Balance of the Force. Well, that is a rumor going around. There are some people believing that's the title of the movie. It's not a bad title. The thing is, it has been a title on 2 Star Wars things already. Star Wars Balance of the Force was the name of a Star Wars collectible card game expansion. And Star Wars Balance of the Force was also the name of a Star Wars video game, pinball video game. So it's been used before. That doesn't mean they can't use it again. They can. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Tristan Brown writes, I'm moving with my fiance. Need advice. What happens when you and Anne begin a TV show together and she wants to continue the series and you don't? Oh, that's easy, Tristan. Then I say, okay, go ahead and watch the rest of it. Like, the first season of Riverdale. I watched the first season of Riverdale with Anne. While it was kind of trashy high school melodrama, it also had some very, what's the word I'm looking for? It had some very sophisticated narrative hooks in it. Like, they did some, narratively, in that first season of Riverdale, they did some pretty interesting things. And I found myself going, you know what, this show's not bad. They're doing, like, it's got a bunch of trashy stuff in it, but it's also got some pretty good stuff. Now, season 2 started, and I bailed on, like, episode 2. That show just became unwatchable to me. Just unwatchable. The funny thing is, Anne also found it to be unwatchable, but she keeps watching it anyway. I guess it's kind of like me and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Like, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is just a burning bag of dog crap. I hate that show, and yet I cannot stop. I keep watching it. I don't know. Maybe I just hate myself, and I'm just hoping every week to like it a little bit. I mean, I'm probably just watching it for Clark Gregg at this point. I'm just watching it for Clark Gregg. But she kept watching it, so, okay, cool. So now when I'm upstairs working or doing whatever, she can be downstairs watching one of the shows that I don't watch, and vice versa. So it's really not a big, complicated issue, Tristan. It's pretty easy to navigate. Don't worry about it. What is a bigger problem is when you're both watching a show and you have to make sure you don't start watching episodes without her and vice versa. See, that's the bigger problem that people will run into. And I'm sure that's going to be the one you're going to run into too. Good luck with that. Pratty Iyer writes, have any of you seen the TV show You on Netflix? I have not. I don't think Rob has. I know Ashley has, and I think she likes it. But that's one of the shows that Anne watches. Anne watches You. She watches it for the one half Filipino girl who was on Pretty Little Liars. I can't remember the actress's name. Beautiful girl, half Filipino. So Anne Shea, is that her name? Shea something? Anyway, Anne watches it for her, and she really likes the show. So I can't speak for it myself, but I know Anne watches it, and she likes it a lot. I think they just announced that they greenlit season 2 already. If I'm not mistaken, I think I heard them say that. Okay, JCL Productions writes, Ashley reads in Batman voice, I'm calling it, John. Black Panther wins best film. Remember this comment as a prophecy coming to pass because I'm Batman. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Black Panther Only 4 films in cinematic history, 4 films in cinematic history have ever won Best Picture out of the 91 years of the Academy Awards without their director being nominated for Best Director. It's only happened 4 times. The last time it happened was Argo, where Ben Affleck directed it but didn't get nominated for Best Director. The time before that, you got to go all the way back a couple of decades to Driving Miss Daisy. That won Best Picture. Of course, the Morgan Freeman film. But the director was not nominated for Best Director. Then, after that, you got to go all the way back to the 1930s when it happened. So, that's a strike against it. But what is more significant is that no film in cinematic history has ever won Best Picture without at least having 1 nomination in one of the other major categories. Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography. No film in Oscar history has ever won Best Picture without having at least 1 of those categories also having it being nominated for that. Never. And Black Panther has no other nominations in the major categories. Has no Best Director, Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, Cinematography, Editing. It has no nominations in those categories. So it's never happened before. Just for the director alone, it's only happened 4 times in 91 years. And it's never happened in the 91-year history of the Academy Awards without at least 1 nomination in those major categories. So the math says it is extremely unlikely, not impossible, not impossible. Let's be clear on that. It is not impossible. But the math is kind of stacked against it, right? 0 times. Like, can you give, this will be my question. Can you give Best Picture to a movie that, as an Academy, you didn't think deserved a Best Director nomination, that as an Academy, you didn't think it deserved a Best Screenplay nomination, that as an Academy, you didn't feel deserved a Best Actor nomination, that as an Academy, you didn't think it deserved any nomination for Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, that as an Academy, you never felt it deserved to be nominated for Best Editing? Can you then, as an Academy, with a straight face, go, but this is the best movie of the year? Not worth being nominated in any of the major categories, but it's the best picture of the year. Like, how do you rectify that? How do you justify that? It's going to be an uphill climb. But JCL, like I was saying, it ain't impossible. Hey, look, it's got a nomination. Along with 7 other films have a nomination, and they all have a shot. I still think the odds-on favorite here is Roma, but every single film nominated has a shot, and that includes Black Panther. So we're getting close. We're getting close to the Oscars here. We're going to find out pretty soon what happens. All right. Twygriff writes, watch the Umbrella Academy. Love the weird out of it. I'll tell you what. Everybody's talking about the Umbrella Academy. And Rob was even talking about it. I've got everybody writing to me about it, telling me how great it is. You guys have convinced me so hard to watch it that I next had Punisher Season 2, I should say, lined up to binge next. I bumped it for Umbrella Academy. So I'm going to start watching Umbrella Academy probably tonight. Probably later tonight, I'm going to start watching Umbrella Academy, and I'll finally be able to see what all you guys have been talking about. All right, let's move on here. I'm Upset writes, will there be another Mask movie? God, I don't know. I mean, probably another reboot at some point, but like, the Jim Carrey Mask, which I loved with Cameron Diaz, I love that movie. Love it. The sequel, Son of the Mask, is, you're not going to find a lot of people arguing that it's not one of the maybe top 50 worst films ever made in history. It's awful and completely flopped and all that kind of stuff. And it's been so long. So do I see another Mask movie like a Mask 2, Mask 3, whatever? I know I don't see that happening. Will they at some point, someday, reboot it? Sure. Yeah. Everything at some point is going to be rebooted, but I don't think you're going to see like a sequel to Jim Carrey's Mask. Not at this point. Who knows? I'd be down for it. Who knows? Illy Chen writes, a top secret. Episode 9's title is 50 Shades of Rey. I can't believe I haven't heard that yet. That's funny. I like that. 50 Shades of Rey. Make a poster of that. Star Wars Episode 9, 50 Shades of Rey. I like that. That's funny. Okay. Ben Rayner writes, is there a weekly hero today? We're talking about Wednesday. No weekly hero today. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on that I'm just trying to keep up on. But do not worry. The weekly hero does return next week. Rob and I were just planning it all out today. The weekly hero does indeed return next week, so keep your eyes open. All right. Let's see. Caledon Sound writes, critics are shills paid by Disney. Get a new line. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. You know what's funny? Here's the thing, though. I've read a bunch of this in comments, but okay, fine. Like, finally people are cluing into the idiocy of this notion that any studio pays critics for reviews. It's nonsense. And finally, a bunch of people are starting to realize, yeah, that is nonsense. So what did they say next? They go, well, yeah, but they get paid off in access to early screenings. You know, they're afraid if they give a bad review, they won't get allowed to go to those early screenings anymore. You do realize that we get invites to early screenings of every movie, right? Like, every movie that we give a bad review to, you know that we got early screening invites to that, right? Right? So you can't say, oh, they're just giving it a good review because they're afraid of losing their early screenings. Well, you can't say that without addressing the fact that every movie that got a bad review, we were given early screenings for as well. You know that, right? Like, don't whine and cry and complain that Alita got some bad reviews from people and then say when other critics give us another movie a good review saying, oh, you're only giving that good review to get your early access. Well, then how come they didn't give Alita a good review? I liked Alita. So don't take me out of that. I liked Alita. I enjoyed the film. But for those critics that didn't, right? It's like every time I see somebody saying that, they just don't want to lose their early access. They have early access to every movie, including all the ones that you complain about that they gave bad reviews to. So anyway, it's just, yeah, these guys need to get in. Look, again, it's just an issue of people can't handle that somebody had an opinion that they didn't, so they make up an excuse. They couldn't have liked that movie. They must be just getting paid off with early access. Or they just like the movie and you need to deal with that. So anyway, that's just the thing. All right. Epic Dub Time 23 writes, have you heard that Cineplex has increased the value and points of free movies and snacks with the Scene Rewards plan? Still looking forward for your Cineplex rant. Yeah, I never got around to getting to my Cineplex rant. Hashtag Han had it coming. Good for you, Epic Dub Time. Yeah, so I did hear something about this, but I didn't know if it was true. So basically, Cineplex is this major theater chain in Canada. It is the major theater chain in Canada. Not a major theater chain. It is the major theater chain in Canada. If you want to go see a movie, there are other movie theaters, but very few. If you live in Canada and you want to go see a movie, you're pretty much stuck with a monopoly. You got to go to a Cineplex theater. And Cineplex has been acting really, really shady and really screwing over their customers because there's not any competition. There's no serious competition. So they can just treat their customers like garbage and go, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go to our competitor? Oh, there is no competitor movie theater for 40 miles. Guess you're just going to have to come back. And that's how they've been, which is really a shame because I used to love Cineplex theaters. I used to love them. I'm not going to lie. It actually used to be a little bit of a dream of mine to work with Cineplex. Like when I started doing stuff at AMC, I never planned on staying in the States for long. I wanted to go home. And my kind of dream was that someday I'll go home and I'll work with Cineplex. That ain't ever going to happen now. Not because I refuse to work with them, but because, I'm talking all sorts of shit about them. But it's true. I got to call it as I see it. They've been treating their customers like garbage and pulling a lot of sneaky, underhanded stuff, like forcing people, giving 8 showtimes for a movie and only one of those showtimes a non-3D option. Forcing people to either choose to not see the movie at all or have to pay the extra ticket price to go watch a 3D abomination. Like, oh, you bought a ticket with your Cinemia and we still got our $17 for the ticket price? We're not going to give you loyalty rewards points for it. But why? You got your $17. Doesn't matter. We're going to use this as an excuse not to give you rewards points. And now you use your reward points to buy movie tickets and things, and they're increasing the number of points it costs to get those things now. Again, the problem in Canada is that there's not a viable competitor to Cineplex. So therefore, they can screw over the audience however they want. They don't care. They will screw you over left, right, and center. They'll bend you over, take you all the way, no lube, no nothing, and they're just going to say, what are you going to do about it? You got no other choice. Until there is a true viable competitor for Cineplex, Cineplex is going to just keep taking advantage of its customers. And when the day comes, however long it's going to take for a real competitor to jump up, I'm going to throw a little party when their company goes under. What I would rather have happen is see them realize, you know what, we need to treat our customers better. That's what I would rather see happen. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll have to kind of wait and see. All right, let's move on here. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on Baby Boy with Tyrese and Taraji P. Henson. I never saw it, so I can't give any thoughts on it. At least I don't think I've seen it. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it. DJ Fart Chibi VVB writes, if the Gauntlet was destroyed after the snap, why was he able to teleport away from Thor? Hey, lots of cars. We've seen lots of cars get into a car accident, but they can drive 5 more miles and then it's down, right? So remember, they never said the Gauntlet was destroyed, but what the Russo brothers, the directors of Infinity War and the upcoming Endgame, what the Russo brothers said in their director's commentary of Infinity War was that the Gauntlet was permanently damaged. They didn't say destroyed, but they said permanently damaged. What that completely entails, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe, it just, I don't know. Maybe Thanos had just enough juice in it to get one last space stone jump out of it and go through the portal, and then that was it. I mean, or there's other options too. I'm not really sure. But my operating theory is that he just had enough juice to get one more thing out of it. But maybe we'll get into the movie and it's still fully functional. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right. Corey Jimenez writes, saw an Oscars TV spot on ABC with footage of nominated films that included Won't You Be My Neighbor? Really? Thought that was a slap in the face to the film. Okay. I have not seen this spot, Corey. That is unfortunate. What I'm going to guess, and I could be really wrong here, but if I had to guess, what it probably was this was probably a spot that was put together a long time ago. That was cut, edited, packaged, and ready to go a long time ago. And maybe the people putting the spot together just assumed, like I did, that Won't You Be My Neighbor would be one of the deserving nominees for Best Documentary. Still, the fact that it was not nominated for Best Documentary is still mind-blowing to me. Still mind-blowing to me. But whatever, it didn't get nominated, fine. But yeah, my guess here, and again, it's only a guess, Corey, is that the spot was probably already made, edited, and packaged, ready to go, and they just did it with the assumption that the movie would get a nomination, and then it didn't. I don't know that that's a slap in the face to the film. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's unfortunate, but as a fan of that movie, I don't know that I would consider it a slap in the face, though. Kyle Starr writes, saw Tom Holland leaked info. You think Strange uses his astral form to warn Captain Marvel and Fury about the snap in the end credit scene for Captain Marvel? I don't know, and I don't even know if the Tom Holland thing was legit. I mean, I know he said something, but I don't know if it was by design that he said something, if it was a misdirect. I don't know, and really I don't care. I try not to get into speculation too much about specific things that will happen in the movie. Do I think in Captain Marvel that Doctor Strange will appear to her in astral form and warn her of this and that? I don't know. Look, it's with all movies, but what I have found, especially with the MCU and Kevin Feige's world, is that anything's possible. Could that happen? Yeah, it could. I wouldn't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely, but it's certainly something that they could do. But then again, if he goes back into the past to warn Captain Marvel, then the events of Infinity War should have never happened, right? Now we're getting into it. Now we're talking about the space-time continuum. If Doctor Strange, at that moment on Titan, while he was doing that, if he actually projected himself into the past, which I don't know is a power that he has, but if he projected himself into the past to warn Captain Marvel about that thing, then all the rest of the events in Infinity War should never have happened, right? Because I'm an expert on the space-time continuum. But doesn't that make sense? I mean, I don't know, maybe. Something to keep our eyes on. All right, Lee Mallinson writes, I never get excited about good MCU reviews. Like with Pixar, Disney has its formula and puts a ceiling on all they do by trying to appeal to everyone. I mean, I don't know, Lee. Like, you're comparing to Pixar, but Pixar is beloved. Pixar doesn't just make mediocre films that people think are okay. People come out of Coco crying. People come out of Coco emotional, sobbing messes. People come out of Toy Story exuberant and ready to go. People come out of Ratatouille still wiping tears from their eyes from laughing so hard. I mean, it's not like you're saying, they just do it to appeal to everybody, blah, blah. That's fine if you're trying to make an argument that all they do is make movies that audiences find mediocre. But that's not the case. Audiences lose their freaking mind for Pixar films, and audience, with a few exceptions, have basically lost their minds for all the MCU movies too. So, I don't know, man. I got to disagree with you on that. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. If that's your perspective of it, I suppose there could be some validity to that. I'm just saying I don't see it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying I don't see it. Because you're talking about some of the most beloved films when you're talking to those things. So I don't know if that's necessarily true. But again, that's just my perspective, and your opinion is no less valid than mine. I'm just saying mine happens to be different than yours on that, Lee. All right. Carlos Herrera writes, Hi, Campia team. Love your show. First-time caller. Thanks so much, Carlos. Website for Wakanda time. It's 11:15 a.m. Chicago and 8:15 p.m. Wakanda time. By the way, hope Endgame is 2.5 hours fighting new enemy for the last 30 minutes. Thanos helping? No. I mean, Thanos just killed half the universe. He didn't just kill your mom. He killed your mom and your sister and your best friend's mom and your best friend's cousin Mike. And he killed trillions of people. The Avengers are not going to be... There's no way. He didn't just murder a dude. Like, you get all these people getting mad. Justice for Han, because how dare Hobbs fight alongside Shaw in Hobbs and Shaw. Shaw murdered Han. That was one guy. One guy. But we want to see the Avengers fight alongside Thanos, who killed not somebody, not a group of people, not hundreds, not thousands, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, not millions, not tens of millions, nor hundreds of millions, nor billions, nor hundreds of billions. He killed trillions of beings across the galaxy. Trillions. If we're going to get upset about justice for Han, how about justice for every frickin' buddy? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't see it. But again, it is the MCU. They have pulled crazier stunts on us before and pulled some big surprise things on us. So anything is possible. But to me, that just doesn't make sense. To me, that just doesn't make sense. But that's just the way I see it. Okay. Ben Rayner writes, nice hot tub time machine reference. Okay, good on you, Ben. Because earlier on today's show, we were talking about the Motley Crue biopic, The Dirt, that's going to come out on Netflix. And the trailer dropped. I said, yeah, Motley Crue's good, but they'll never be as good as Motley Lou. Let's see who gets it. Clearly, Ben, you got it. You're right. That was a hot tub time machine reference. Good on you. All right. Don Beto writes, just saw Upgrade. Love the movie. Very fun film. Very fun film with a very cool sci-fi, because you'd be forgiven looking at the trailers for Upgrade, thinking that you're getting yourself into just an action film. But it is most definitely a sci-fi film with real sci-fi tropes and stuff like that, particularly as you get towards the ending. And I'm not going to spoil the ending for anybody. But yeah, tremendously. I didn't think it was one of the 10 best films of the year, but I had a lot of fun watching Upgrade. It was a solid movie. All right, NPE94 writes, how much control do big-name directors like Spielberg and Tarantino have over their trailers and marketing campaigns for their films? Not a lot, to be honest with you. Not a lot. And a lot of directors don't even try to get control of that because directors know nothing about marketing. And that's the thing. Directors know nothing about marketing. They're not marketers. They haven't studied marketing. They haven't, got 20 years experience of marketing. They don't know anything about marketing. Right? Like, just because Quentin Tarantino is a terrific film director, that doesn't mean you want him performing your brain surgery on you. But he's a great director. Yeah, but brain surgery is different. Marketing is different. And there's a reason why studios hire, spend big money on marketing professionals who know what they're doing and blah, blah, blah. And, most of the time they do it better than any of us could. And every once in a while they drop the ball. I'm looking at you Day After Tomorrow, Edge of Tomorrow, I should say, and John Carter. But yeah, for the most, it's a completely different skill set. It's a completely different frame of mind. These guys, Steven Spielberg doesn't know anything about marketing. He's a film director. He's the greatest that's ever lived. Quentin Tarantino is a filmmaker, one of the best that's ever lived. But yeah, so no, the studios aren't going to go, sure, we'll put the fate of our thing in you, even though you have no experience in marketing. Sure, we'll put our hundreds of millions of dollars budget in your hands. Nah. It's not out, but it does happen sometimes. As a matter of fact, there was this great little movie with Channing Tatum and Daniel Craig called Logan Lucky. And that was just out about like a year and a half ago. I really like that movie. Logan Lucky's really good. But it was one of those movies where they did allow, was it Soderbergh? Hold on a second. Logan Lucky. I think it was Soderbergh that directed it. I could be wrong about that. No, it was. Yeah, it was. Steven Soderbergh directed it. And of course, on top of all that, of course, you also had Adam Driver. You had Adam Driver in the film as well. It's a wonderful little film. I had a really good time with Logan Lucky. Anyway, they let Steven Soderbergh oversee the marketing of it. They let him have final say. Now look, Steven Soderbergh is a great film director. I like Steven Soderbergh and I like his projects, his films. He takes a lot of experiments and he tries a lot of things, but he had a big cast. Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, Channing Tatum, on and on and on. You know what that movie made worldwide? $49 million because they let Soderbergh look after the marketing. And quite frankly, the marketing campaign wasn't very good. Wasn't very good at all. Now, there are exceptions. There are absolutely exceptions. There are times when a big name director has been given more, I'd say, more influence over the marketing stuff like that. And to some degree, directors are allowed to give notes a lot of times on what, trailers are and stuff like that, but they're not in charge of the marketing campaign for the most part. Some exceptions, but it's rare. Okay. Let's move on here. Second Street Marvel writes, not ready for Vince Neil part. His daughter, yeah, that's Vince Neil of Motley Crue. I believe his daughter was like 4 years old when she died of cancer. I might not be remembering that right, but I think she died at like the age of 4. And if they do cover that in the film, and I don't know that they will, but if they do cover that part in the film, that's going to be. That has the potential to be pretty emotional. That has the potential for sure to be pretty emotional. NPE94 writes, personally, I like Brie Larson's outspoken viewpoints on progressive issues, but do you think her activism might put off some moviegoers? Oh, sure. Yeah. Look, 100%. We've seen that already. We've absolutely 100% seen that. There's no doubt about that. But whenever somebody suggests that something's not being done fairly, you're going to get people who benefit from that unfairness get upset about it. Brie Larson has basically said, her whole point was, look, I go to these press junkets and everything, and it's just all white men who get allowed to come to these things. And as a white man who has been to many of these press junkets, I can tell you she's right. They don't invite a lot of people who aren't white men. And the few people that they do invite who aren't white men are, out of the few of them, it's basically white women. They do not allow a lot of people other than white guys, like people with white penises like mine. They don't allow them to come to these things. Brie Larson has been very vocal about how this can't just be, we can't just have these films covered from just a white male perspective. We've got to open up the doors and include more people from a different perspective. That's good for everybody except those who are threatened by their position of privilege being shaken a little bit. You know, most people are very, very common sense, saying, hey, it shouldn't just be all Group A. We should invite some of Group C, A, or B, and C, and D in as well. Everybody understands that makes sense. But then there's some people from Group A who goes, you're attacking us. We're not attacking you. You're still going to be the majority of the group that's going to be in these things. We just think we should stop this agenda of excluding other people from coming. We need to open up the doors so that when films are being reported on, they're not just exclusively being reported on from a white male perspective. I think that just makes common sense. Nobody's saying get rid of white male journalists at these things. Nobody has suggested that. We're still going to be the majority. We will always be the majority at these things. But all she said is, look, we need to diversify this up because right now it's just all white penises here. We need to allow, we got to stop excluding other people. And there are some people who get very threatened by that and react to it and misquote what's being said. Brie Larson says she hates white men. No, she didn't. I seriously, I had a discussion with somebody. He's like, John, how can you defend Brie Larson saying she hates white men? I said, she's never said she hated white men. Yes, she did. Really? Show me where. Look at this headline. Yeah, but that headline isn't what she said. Actually read what she said. And don't just read 4 words. Read the 5 paragraphs and understand context. She didn't do that. But again, people get threatened by that. They get very upset and very angry. Will it put some of those people off? Absolutely it will. Absolutely it will. But what's the alternative? You know, I say do it. And look, as a white male journalist, I can tell you, Brie Larson has said nothing that me nor my fellow white male journalists in the film industry should be upset about. And you can feel differently. Unless you're a white male journalist in the film industry, you don't have as educated a position as I do on this one particular specific topic. But hey, it is what it is. Okay. Arun Baburaj writes, Nick Fury talks about building energy weapons using Tesseract in Avengers. Could Captain Marvel's accident be connected to one of these tests? No, because Captain Marvel's accident would have happened decades before Nick Fury had the Tesseract and to do any weapons. So I don't think, Arun, there's any connection between the two whatsoever. Mr. Let me get this right. Mr. Golfwang 969 writes, I think Infinity War is one of the best written MCU films. My list would be The Avengers, Captain Winter Soldier, Guardians, Black Panther, Infinity War. Can you rank yours? I don't like ranking. I don't do ranking films, but I will say I think my favorite script, the best written script, is probably Captain America: Civil War. I just love that. And the way they set up a conflict, you know, something that could truly divide this team of heroes that have fought in life and death situations side by side. What's going to divide them? And they came up with something great that would do it, that causes a conundrum, that makes the characters, you know, stop and think about their positions. Because, like, even Cap, remember there's that scene when they're sitting down at the base and Tony is talking to Captain America, showing Cap the pens that his dad used to form S.H.I.E.L.D., I think it was. And he came this close to getting Captain America to sign the Sokovia Accords until they brought up Wanda and the fact that Wanda was under house arrest. And then Tony had moments of doubt when he realized that, oh my God, Cap was right all along. And he started shaking away. And it's just so well written Like, look, absolutely, Avengers I think, is the greatest comic book movie of all time. Captain America: Winter Soldier, fantastic script, but I'm going to lean towards Civil War for that matter, because I thought that was a real tough nut to crack, and I thought they did it really well. Brett Roherer writes, I'm sure I'm butchering that, Brett, forgive me. Hey, John and Rob and Ashley, been watching since the AMC days. Thanks so much for that, Brett. My wife thinks we are very much alike. We both love Star Wars movies in general and married way above our station. Yeah, I mean, I don't know you, Brett, and I don't know your wife, so I can't speak for you, but yeah, people often refer to, when they see me and Ann as a couple, the different sports analogies come out, called punching out of my weight class. You know, that's the big one. Punching out of your weight class is a big one that comes up for me. You know, it's funny. My wife's sister, her name's Olive. She is shorter than Ann. I think Olive is 5 feet tall, and Ann's like 5'2" or something. Anyway, 5'3". Anyway, Olive, no, maybe Olive's like 5'1", 5'2", and Ann's like 5'3", 5'4". Anyway, Olive's even shorter than Ann is. And Olive also married a white Canadian from the East Coast, Star Wars loving nerd. And my brother-in-law's name is Stan. The difference is Stan is 6'9". 6'9" and a bodybuilder. A 6'9" bodybuilder who played U.S. collegiate basketball and everything. And that's still funny to see. I mean, I love them. They're my family. But it's funny seeing them standing side by side as a couple. It's crazy. Okay, anyway. Rick and Man 85 writes, I still think it would be great if somehow everyone had to put away their differences and work with Thanos against the bigger threat. I still don't see that as something that's great. This guy murdered Loki. He murdered Heimdall. He killed half of the population of Asgard. He killed half of the population of the Earth. Wanted to watch him bring Vision back to life just to choke him out and rip the stone out of his head. And then he killed trillions of people. If audiences are going to get upset at justice for Han for a Fast and the Furious movie over one dude, how do you rectify that with trillions of people that he murdered? I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. Could be wrong. Again, Marvel's pulled bigger surprises than that. But I'm just having a hard time imagining them trying to pull that off. All right. Javier Belmer writes, I'm glad the Captain Marvel film's getting good buzz, but I'm not sure people are being realistic regarding its performance. Lots of things stacked against it, trailers, release day, public interest, etc. Oh, I agree. As a matter of fact, Javier, we talked about this specific thing on the John Campus Show earlier today, and I'm still, look, I know Box Office Pro is projecting 160. Variety Magazine is saying its industry sources are saying 120 now. I'm still sticking to the $90 million range. I still think it's going to be around 90 for its opening weekend. 100 certainly possible. I don't know about 120 or 160. I'm guessing 90. My guess, 90 million opening weekend for that. Now, how much it makes long term is completely up to how well is the movie received. If everybody thinks it sucks, then it's going to make 500 tops. If everybody thinks it's amazing, well, then 800 million becomes a possibility. But yeah, I think the floor is around 500 million. I think the ceiling is around 7 or 8. Now, Rob thinks Captain Marvel's going to make $1 billion. He thinks it's going to join the $1 billion club. I don't have that kind of optimism yet. But then again, I may after seeing the film. Like if I go in and watch it and think, holy crap, this is better than Civil War, that's a tall order. But maybe if I watch it and think, yeah, this is a movie people will go back to multiple times and they're going to evangelize this movie and tell their friends and get more and more people to come to the movie with them and blah, blah, and it's going to have long legs. 800 million. No? 500. So I'm with you, man. I think there's a little bit of overestimating going on about how well this movie can do. But hey, we've seen crazier things, right? I never thought Venom could make 800 million, and it did. I never thought Aquaman could hit 800 million, and it made over $1 billion. So let's not pretend like it's not happened before. It could. But yeah, I'm guessing I'm still standing on opening weekend, 90 million, and then The floor it'll make is $500 million. The ceiling, I pick at 8. So I'm giving it a $300 million range there that it could fall in. But I could be like way out in left field. I could be totally wrong about that. We're going to have to wait and see. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question comes to us from Heroes Fan Productions, who writes, you guys are like the DC Trinity of Movie Podcasts. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much, Heroes. I appreciate that. And I'll be sure to pass those kind words along to Robert and Ashley in the morning as well. So thanks for sharing that, man. It's always nice when somebody just wants to stop and send in kind words. That's really cool, man. Thank you. Brett Ruher, again, I'm sure I'm butchering that name, writes, if none of us can find where to watch the 3 short film categories, are there different rules for them than long format films as far as screening in New York and LA? My name is pronounced Roar. Roar! There you go. You knew. You prophesied that I would struggle with your name, and you told me how to say it. Roar. Brett Roar. Thanks for throwing that in, Brett. I do believe any film to be eligible for the Academy Awards in any category has to meet that LA and New York requirement. But remember, the LA and New York requirement is very, very, it's a tiny, tiny thing they need to do. All they need to do is book a movie theater that plays their film for like a week. One theater in Los Angeles, one theater in New York. You do that, you book out a little theater in Los Angeles and New York to play your films for a week, whatever, and have it so people can buy tickets to go to it, you're eligible. That's how Netflix does it. Netflix, when they feel like there were theaters you could go to for a short period of time to watch Roma in theaters. You know, so it's a very, very simple thing to do. So that what they would probably do is book an entire festival of it, but still that leaves most people unable to go watch it, right? Because even if you're living in an LA, New York, you've only got a finite period of time to watch it, and then you're totally screwed and out of luck if you don't live in LA, New York. So, but yeah, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm not one of the world's foremost experts on Academy rules, but to the best of my knowledge, yes, even the short films are subject to that rule as well. All right, Factual Opinion writes, do you fellers think Warner Brothers will still make Attack on Titan movie even though Alita is not doing so good at the box office? I don't know. That's a good question. Hold a second. Live action movie. I haven't heard anything about it for a while. You know, we heard that they were going to go into development on it. I'm not sure. And by the way, let's not count out Alita Battle Angel just yet. Okay? Let's not count it out just yet. Now, is Alita going to join the $1 billion club? Well, clearly not, opening at $27 million. But I'm not saying it's likely, but if it can have enough legs, it could still break even. And breaking even would probably be seen as a win, not only to the Alita Battle Angel people, but maybe to other studios as well. Other studios may look at a break even for Alita Battle Angel as a win and saying, well, if Alita can make that much on, you know, a slow opening weekend and all that kind of stuff, and it can still come out and finish off strong and cross the break-even line and actually be a little bit profitable, that might be emboldening to these other studios. It's unlikely that it'll break even, but let's not write it off just yet. Let's not write it off just yet. Okay. Official Friend Zone. What a great name. I love it. Official Friend Zone writes, when do you guys think we will get a new trailer for The Lion King? Don't care. With all the new Disney trailers coming out, I refresh Facebook every day for it. Hey, look, I'm as excited for a new Lion King trailer too, but I am just past the point. I don't worry about when trailers are going to come. I just don't worry about them. I just don't care. They're corporately designed pieces of manipulation meant to trick you into giving a studio your money. So I don't really care. Don't get me wrong. I get excited for the trailers, but I don't care when they release. They release when they release. The trailers come out when they come out. Now, I say that like I'm dispassionate about it, but believe you me, Official Friend Zone, when they do drop it, I'm going to squeal like a little girl. Make no mistake about it. I will squeal like a little girl. I'm dying for this movie. I wasn't always big on the idea of this film until I saw Jungle Book. Once I saw Jungle Book, then I went, okay, yeah, you can do a new Lion King. Yep, you can do a new Lion King, and it's not live action, but let's call it photorealistic. You can do a photorealistic Lion King movie now, absolutely, because what they did with Jungle Book was crazy good. Crazy good. So I have no theory, nor do I have any care when they drop it. Just let me know when they do, so I can watch it and squeal and replay it like 55,000 other times, man, because I feel you. I totally feel you, friend zone. All right. Spectacular Spider Guy writes, you've seen the blueprints, Lincoln. Better than that. I've got them on me. Michael, Prison Break was so good. You know what? I never got around to watching it. I know a lot of people got really excited when the two guys from Prison Break also joined CW's Legends of Tomorrow show. I miss Captain Cold. Boy, that Arrowverse really feels the loss of Captain Cold. Anyway, on that, I know so many people that loved Prison Break. Maybe not so much the revival they're trying to get going, but whatever. I've seen a few episodes, but I never watched the show. But everybody tells me it's really good, Spider Guy. Everybody tells me it's really good. So one of these days, I do got to give it a watch. There's a few older shows that I've got kind of on a very informal list I need to get around to watching sometime, and Prison Break is absolutely one of those. Okay. Lighthammer66 writes, the MCU. Do you ever see any other studio reproducing this type of success with a series of connected films? Yep. As long as, like we talk about this sometimes, Lighthammer, as long as you're using that word ever, then the answer is almost always going to be yes. Because ever is a long, long time. And you know, like, and there are people today who are living right now who are going, oh man, no, you can never beat what the MCU is doing right now. It's like, well, you know what, kiddies? There was a time not so long ago when there was a social media network called MySpace. And everybody thought MySpace would be the eternal empire, right? It would be basically Rome, the eternal city. Everybody thought MySpace was unbreakable. It was the dominant thing, social media stuff. This is all new. It's always, and guess what? In a blink of an eye, all of a sudden MySpace was gone. And then there was Facebook. And that's when people say, well, you'll never get rid of Facebook. It's like, that's what they said about MySpace, man. And look what happened. And look, it's just when you say ever. Can I see another studio replicating that sort of shared cinematic universe success in the next 5 years? No. In the next 10 years, highly unlikely. But man, once you use that term ever, almost anything is on the table. Ever? Yeah. Somebody else will do it in some other thing. It may take 20 years. It may take 40 years. It may take 50 years. But I think ever, yeah, ever it'll happen. All right. Colby Harris writes. Where did he go? Okay, there he is. Colby Harris writes, I've dated several girls who love Law and Order SUV, but I don't understand the attraction of sexual abuse. Ashley, could you help me understand this? Okay, here's the thing. Yes, Law and Order SUV is Special Victims Unit. I never really watched SUV. I did used to watch on my lunch breaks. I used to watch the original Law and Order, or at least replays of it. I don't know why. I used to like Law and Order. Anyway, but I know the premise of SUV, and yeah, there's a lot of it is sexual abuse and sexual assault and things like that. Well, here's the thing, Colby. Did you like Avengers Infinity War? Because guess what? There was mass genocide. What's the attraction of mass genocide? What's the attraction of mass genocide? It's a movie. And for a lot of people, even like movies about, people who die of cancer, movie about a lot of different tragedies, because they're heroic stories to tell. Stories that we can empathize with, stories of real pain and suffering that we can either identify with or symbolically identify with. And yeah, I mean, look, but you could say that about any movie. Any movie. Man, I love Rocky IV. Really? You love the idea of a boxer getting brain damaged and dying in the ring? Because remember, Apollo died in the ring in Rocky IV. What's the attraction? What's the attraction to a man being hit in the head so hard that his brain hemorrhages and he dies and his family have to watch him die and they lose their family? What's the attraction of that? Like, you could say that with any movie that has tragic consequences. It's just the idea of the story that you then tell. And, you have to have antagonists that form those stories. So that's probably the appeal to a show like that, I'm guessing. But then again, I'm speaking out my ass because I've never really watched Law & Order SUV, but I'm going to assume it's probably along that same line. All right. Toby Miller writes, please, oh please, if you like Umbrella Academy, check out Misfits, a group of young convicts who one day get superpowers. All right, you know what? I've heard of Misfits. I've seen ads for Misfits, but I've never even known where to watch it, Toby. I've never even known where to watch that show. So I'll tell you what, if I like Umbrella Academy, I will check it out. But do me a favor, Toby, email me or any of the rest of you guys, email me at john@thejohncampiashow.com. That's john@thejohncampiashow.com. And let me know where I can find it. Is it on BBC America? Is it on Netflix? Is it on Hulu? Is it on Crackle? Is it on Amazon? Like, I just know where it is. Just let me know where it is, and I'll add it to my list. All right. Dave Scarpa writes, any chance CBS would give Anson Mount a Pike show? Well, I mean, hard to say. By the way, I love the Pike character. I like his character a lot more than I liked his Inhumans show. Yes, anyway. What I will say right now is this. CBS is very into the Star Trek on television game. We got Discovery going right now, which I think is terrific. We've got this Jean-Luc Picard show coming. We got an animated show coming. We got a few other things coming. I've heard they're talking about doing a Michelle Yeoh character. Might be getting her own spin-off show. So, hey, look, I don't know if it's likely that CBS will do a Captain Pike spin-off, but I wouldn't count it out. Especially if the audience starts to like him as much as I am liking him. It could become a possibility, or he'll just become a series regular. Like, I think the plan was only to have Pike on it for this season. But who knows? If the audience loves him, maybe he just sticks around. There's a lot of different possibilities for the character, I think. Lucas M. writes, after reading the social media reactions, I thought Sam Jackson is de-aged for the entire movie. No comments on this could imply its effectiveness. Probably. You know what? I think you're absolutely right, Lucas, because the social media embargo for Captain Marvel has been lifted, and all the critics seem to love it. One thing, you're right, that was not mentioned is the de-aging effect done on Samuel Jackson. I often say that, to me at any rate, one of the hallmarks of really good visual effects is when you don't even notice it and you forget it's there. And it could be, Lucas, that the de-aging done on Samuel Jackson is done so well that everybody just forgets about it and doesn't even mention it or doesn't even notice it. That would be a very good thing. Or maybe they just don't want to mention it because they thought it sucked and they didn't think it was worth mentioning in their short little social media post that they could put up. Who knows? But yeah, to me, when it comes to visual effects, no news is good news to me. That's kind of how I see it at any rate. Okay, let's move on now. Jason Morgan writes, hey, John and Rob, how should upcoming musicians who sing or rap get their music placed in superhero movies or TV shows? The music in the Netflix and CW Arrowverse shows use a lot of pop, R&B, hip-hop songs. I have no idea. I don't travel. Like, really, you have to belong to a label. You have to have representation. Because here's what the shows don't do. These shows don't just send us your demo. Send us your demo. Maybe we'll put your song. That's not how it works. They go through agents and companies and stuff like that. So the best way to do that, I know I'm probably shattering your dream right now, but there is no, what's the mailing address to send my demo to the head of the CW Arrowverse to maybe get my song on the show? It's not how it works. They go through agencies and they go through all that kind of stuff. So it's, my guess here is, as somebody who is not in the music business, is you got to go through the same channels as everybody else. You got to get yourself signed, get representation, get all that kind of stuff. And yeah, unfortunately, there's no shortcut. That I know of, there's no shortcut. But good luck on that, man. Good luck. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on 9.5 Weeks. Oh, I loved 9.5 Weeks. I've talked about that movie every once in a while. Now, let me just make sure that I'm talking about the right one. And I am, because there's 9.5 Weeks and then there's another one. So this, of course, is the Mickey Rourke, Kim Basinger one. Love this movie. Man, this is an old one. When did it come out? We're going back to 1986. And you know what? It was not a beloved film. Not a beloved film. And, I mean, it was very risque for the time, for 86. I saw it not in 86. I saw it years later when I was a little bit older. than when I was like 13. I saw it later than that on VHS, and I thought it was just scandalous. But I remember liking it a lot. But I also remember it was not a beloved film, not a beloved film, and I get why. But man, Kim Basinger. Hollywood royalty, man. Hollywood royalty. All right, NPE94 writes, sitting at home, drinking a beer, eating spicy food while petting my cat, watching Roma. Just suddenly thought John would hate all of this. It's true. I don't drink beer. I basically don't drink. Now, don't get me wrong. At the right social event, I will have an amaretto sour. Or I will have a glass of wine, although I don't really like the taste of wine that much either. I don't drink beer. I hate the taste of beer. But basically speaking, I don't drink. I cannot handle spicy food. I don't like cats, and I didn't like Roma. So yes, you're right. Other NPE than the sitting at home relaxing part, that sounds good. But drinking beer, eating spicy food while petting your cat and watching Roma, you're right. You just hit the trifecta, or the quadfecta, if you will, of all the things I probably would hate about that scenario. And finally, James Colazzo writes, any chance of a Logan's Run remake? I think it's screaming for one. You know what's funny, James? Somebody just brought that up this past week. Was asking about Logan's Run. Now, I'll tell you what I told them before. They have been trying to get a Logan's Run thing put together for a while. They've been trying for a while to get a Logan's Run. And it started a number of years ago. This is going way back now. But Bryan Singer was the first one, the director of Bohemian Rhapsody and the X-Men and X-Men 2 and Usual Suspects. He was trying to get a Logan's Run up and running for a while. He was trying to get that up and running. Then that finally fell by the wayside. Then a new creative team came in and was trying to work on it. And then I haven't heard anything about it for a few years. I do know, for all I know, a company that I'm maybe just not aware of has already picked up the rights and they are developing. I don't think so. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if in the next 3 years we get a Logan's Run remake. Because I know they've been trying to get that one made for a while. And it's at some point it's going to happen. At some point it's going to happen. All right, guys. That will do it for this installment of the companion videos. Thanks so much. We are now all caught up, and thank you to all of you guys who sent in those questions for us to address. Don't forget, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow morning. Me, Robert Meyer Burnett, Ashley Whalen will be here as well, talking about the latest movie news and all that kind of stuff, and taking more live questions. Make sure you guys come back and join us for that. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.